like to call the May 17th, 2016 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order and ask you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just so you know, I complained to the mayor about that name tag on there. It's not there anymore.
Let's start by introducing our board members, starting to my right.
Hi, my name is Kim Keller.
Jim Hilly.
Walt Recook.
Todd Chernick.
Sumit Shah.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-legal board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. With regard to decisions on primary variances, which is what we'll be hearing tonight, the board's basis for decision is provided by these four considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance, and B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties, and that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. I first seek a motion to approve the meeting agenda as published or adoption thereof.
Motion to approve.
Motion to adopt the meeting minutes as, or I'm sorry, the agenda as published. Is seconded?
Second for discussion.
Yes, sir.
On the 8th item, new business election of officers, we've got 2 people that are absent. I'm just wondering if we just don't need to postpone that and remove that. Just wait for the next meeting.
That's a fair point. Now, I know we've done that in the past couple meetings. I did hear from Bill, who is out sick. He said go forward. I have not gotten specific direction from Chris on his intentions, so that's what I know. He is out of business.
Okay. Well, I would make a motion that we basically postpone the election of new officers till we have a little bit more of a quorum than we have right now.
We have a second?
Fair way.
I second it.
Any discussion on the motion to amend the agenda to remove the election of officers, item number 8? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion to amend the agenda is passed. I need a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
Motion to adopt amended agenda.
I'll second it.
With a second, any discussion? So we have a motion and a second to adopt the amended agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimous. We'd like to seek a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes as published by the city.
I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes of last month's meeting.
I'll second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve the April 2016 meeting minutes as published by the city. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay, we have 4-1 with one. I'm sorry, 4-0 with one abstention. Now move on to consideration of applications. The application we'll first hear is V16-005, 13345 Providence Road. Would staff please present?
Yes, sir. Petition number V16-005. The site, 13345 Providence Road, is a 2-acre site, 2-acre single-family lot, zoned AG1. It is located in the rural Milton overlay. The contractor, Jeffrey Riddick, is representing the owners, Alan and Diane Van Heest. Their property includes an existing 2-bedroom brick house and a barn. The owners plan to remodel the house and expand it, adding a 3rd bedroom and a garage. They plan to demolish the barn, which is unusable in its current state, and rebuild it back in its current location. No animals will be housed in the barn. The existing barn has a dirt floor. The new one will have a concrete floor. Section 426.2 states that along a stream, a 25-foot buffer is to be maintained as an impervious setback in addition to the 50 feet of undisturbed buffers. Since Mr. Reddick's clients propose to expand the footprint of the house, which encroaches into the 75-foot impervious setback, a variance is required. Section 416J1 states that the side setback for AG1 properties is 25 feet. No structures are to be constructed in this area. Since Mr. Reddick's clients propose to rebuild a barn in the side setback and in the 75-foot impervious setback of a stream, a two-part variance is required. On April 5th, 2016, the DRB offered the following comments. You can't even see it from the road, can you? Staff held a focus meeting on April 6th. None of the staff members had comments. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. The garage structure is over 75 years old and was damaged during a tornado a couple of years ago. If granted, this reduction in setback will not offend the spirit or intent of the existing ordinance. This building is barely visible from any of the adjoining property owners' line of sight. The property is deep and private, so there is no impact or detriment to the public good as it adjoins property of the same zoning. Neighbors on all sides will not be affected in the least. No safety hazards of any type will be created. The staff response. The existing house currently encroaches into the 75-foot impervious setback. No further encroachment will be made into the stream buffer other than a set of steps. The existing barn currently encroaches into the 75-foot impervious setback and the 25-foot side yard setback. The new barn will be relocated in the same spot. The proposed work will not create any further encroachments. Therefore, relief, if granted, would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. The stream buffers were expanded after the structures were built. Also, the septic field is located between the barn and the house, so the barn cannot be moved up and out of the setbacks. Relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and the surrounding properties. There is a stream, a lake, extensive vegetation, and a good deal of property between the subject buildings and any adjacent houses. The public safety, health, and welfare are secured, and substantial justice will be done. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. The new barn shall not exceed the footprint of the existing structure. The remodeled house and new barn shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Milton architect. Staff recommends approval with conditions of this request, and this concludes the staff presentation.
Are there any questions for staff?
On the condition for reviewing the house and the barn, why is that a condition? Why are they asking for something like that?
This lot is subject to the rural view shed, and that's one of the,
But you can't even see the house from the road.
well, any lot that's adjoining a major road is technically subject to our City of Architect review, so it's just making it kind of official.
So, it doesn't matter if it's on there or not. He's still going to look at it, right? So, right?
I also had a similar question. The applicant seems to have provided elevation views, renderings for both the house and the barn. What additional would the architect be looking for?
Well, he'll just, right now he doesn't have any other further comments. He'll just be taking a look at it as part of court.
Okay.
And he'll have to check the height, but other than that.
All right. Any other questions for staff? With that, I'd ask the applicant to come forward to present their application, and I would note that you have 10 minutes to present, as well as that allotted time for public comment.
All right. Good evening. My name is Jeff Reddick, and I am with English Builders, and we are representing Diane and Alan Van Hees on the request for a variance for the proposed house and barn to move forward for renovation and expansion. Exactly what Angela said. I mean, the homeowner, our clients, purchased this house back in June of 2013. The existing home is a one-story ranch that is there, and the barn, which sits just behind the home as you pull up to it, was built in the mid-1900s. My clients, have emphatically, since we've met them, wanted to use that barn as a accessory structure for storage, etc. And in fall of 2014, there was a storm that came through the property, took out a number of trees and all kinds of things they had to clean up. Part of what that storm did was crushed a little bit of the barn, the roof, and the siding of it. And when they came up with their new plan, it's definite improvement to the property and the structures that are there. But we realized that that existing barn footprint sits in the side and rear setback. As Angela said, the stream buffer requirements have expanded, since that it obviously was built. And the existing house where it encroaches, the parts of that existing home that encroach are existing. Any expansions that they're making actually are, within the buildable area and outside of any setback. So, really, the septic field, which is located just between the home and the existing barn, we had inspected, we had it tested, and plan to reuse for the proposed house. So, we have very little leeway to do much with either structure from where that septic field sits. I believe y'all have a copy of the elevations, I think as Mr. Chernick said. The proposed barn is, it's going to be an improvement to, of course, what is there. And I don't know, are y'all looking at pictures of the existing barn?
Oh, not existing, no.
No.
Existing's in the back.
I brought one 8.5 by 11. I didn't know if y'all had that.
Page 9, right. Well, that's the house.
Yeah, it's actually on there, and then I have this one. I don't know if you can see
If
it.
you
or
want to
you
hand
like-
that to
Sure.
staff, they'll
Yeah, there you go. That picture was taken after we did a little bit of cleanup around it, but the only point I'm trying to make with that is, you can see what was there. The proposed barn will have a, board and batten finish, hardy on the exterior. We are between a standing seam metal roof and an asphalt roof now. But, I grew up here. I'm from here. I know the architecture, and, we've done a lot of custom homes here. To me, even going through the city architect, I would assume that he would be favorable of what we're trying to do with the barn. The barn footprint actually sits exactly within the existing footprint. There is no expansion to further encroach. So, in our mind, it's a big improvement. We have little leeway with where the existing house sits and the barn to do much else with what's existing. We've been working with this client for a very long time, gone through new house plans, things like that. And the renovation of the existing house became the best option. So this was, one of the things they wanted to make, that place, exactly what they envisioned. So.
Can I ask the public to please refrain? We're having a hard time hearing the applicant.
So, really, I mean, I think I've explained the hardship and what the plan is going forward. So it is an improvement to the property, and and as Angela said, I don't think this is a detriment to a streetscape, a view of what's about to be done. None of the adjoining property owners really have a line of sight to this or have any objections. I don't believe we had any objections during advertisement.
Okay. You've used up half your allotted time, just for the record, which is not an issue at all. Well, if you have nothing further to present, then I'll open it to the board to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Is there any questions for the applicant? Yes, Walt?
A couple things. Number one, have you got any letters from any of the adjoining neighbors stating that they're either for or against this?
Not at this time. My owners have spoken with them, and my understanding was, the requirement for the adjoining approval letter would have been more on an administrative basis. Is that correct? But I mean, there has been discussions with those adjoining property owners, and there was no opposition. And we actually advertised this variance for 2 months as opposed to 1, because we figured that we had a side setback to advertise for as well as a rear encroachment.
These
So-
are street signs in the area?
Sir?
You said you advertise by street signs?
Yes, with the city of Milton,
Okay.
yes.
Second question, on the structure that's being allowed to go in the impervious setback, it looks like there's 2 structures. One is the rear part of the house.
Correct.
And then the second one is going to be the barn, which again, you're basically agreeing with staff, saying you're going to keep it within the footprint of the existing building.
Yes, sir.
And when you do that work, in any other work, are you going to have any other issues where you're going to be encroaching in that easement? In other words, what I don't want to see is something come back and say, okay, we're going to build another roadway or driveway or some other thing from the back left-hand corner of the house over to the side entry of the barn, perhaps on that side, towards the stream. That's the thing I'm most concerned with, is that if we're going to enter, especially with equipment and such, it'd be better if it was entering through the area that's not in the impervious area.
Yes, sir. If you have the site plan in front of y'all, we have room from, where
Sure
we're
you do.
inside the buildable area where we can disturb. To do anything with the barn, we can enter in, from that area without getting around the barn. Anything that would be, accessing to the rear or the side would be a pervious pathway that was, would not impact, that setback at all. So no, there's no driveways, nothing going into the setback to reach that.
So are you planning to have a true barn door on that back side of that wall, or are you going to just have a regular door, or?
When you say backside of which wall?
Right, in other words,
Front and back.
front and back, I guess, are gonna have similar doors. You're not in other words, if you're not ever planning to use that door to access that side, I'm trying to understand why you would need a door that is probably about a $3,000 door if it's never gonna be able to be accessed.
I think it had more to do with symmetry from the owner's, request on how the barn would look from the front and the
Okay.
back. If we had any access to those rear doors, like I said, it would be a pea gravel or something that's going right on top of the ground, and, it would be,
Well, again, just so you understand, this plan does not address any type of roadway or any type of pavement material or anything. I just want to
Right.
make sure, so
Okay.
as far as we're concerned, that's not what this plan is showing,
Okay.
nor should anything like that be done without city approval,
yes, sir.
okay?
Okay.
Okay. That's all my questions.
I had one question, and it's a follow-up to Walt's question, which is your access to, really, it's, the biggest concern in my mind is the barn. During construction, would you have any issues with placing a temporary fence along the 50-foot stream buffer on that lower rear corner of the property? A temporary
Absolutely
fence
not.
to prevent any equipment accessing the,
That would be fine, yes, sir.
Okay.
And we could, do that where, we could even post on a tree-safe fence or something like that, do not encroach. This is a stream buffer area or something of the like if we need to. Be glad to.
okay? Any other questions for the applicant? All right, hearing none from the board, I'll open this up. You can have a seat. I'll open it up for public comment, and after which you'll have a chance to make any closing statement if you choose.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment for application V16-005? Hearing none and seeing none, make a note that there was no public comment on this application. Sir, you have an opportunity to make a closing statement if you'd like. It's completely up to you. Okay. Any further questions for staff?
Are there any other requirements for, in terms of the design of the barn or additions to the house? Anything from a city standpoint that they would have to?
Again, with the rural Milton overlay, there's some general characteristics of what we want the house to look like, and then, barn, I'm assuming it's gonna look like a barn. So, there's a drawing in there, so, so far we're okay with what we see.
But basically, that would have to be the final drawing approved by the city.
architect.
So, okay.
This isn't gonna be your typical Milton farmhouse, but they're starting with, a 1950s ranch, so we're not trying to change that. We've seen some strange things, so we just want to make sure it's pretty even.
Okay.
I have two questions. Counselor, in our packet, the proposed site plan isn't labeled or dated. Should we choose to reference that? How would you propose we do that? Page 8, which actually shows the location of the additions.
I guess just reference as to page 12 in the
Eight of-
staff package.
Okay. And then my second question is in reference to the temporary fencing that I brought up. How would you prefer that was referenced on this drawing? I don't see any coordinates as far as north, south. Oh, there is a north. Is it fine to note it as the southeast corner of the property at the 50-foot stream buffer
It's already indicated on the plan.
for a temporary fence?
I know, this is type C silt fence.
It is
That's
noted
what-
on there. Where do you see that notation?
I just know it from reading construction plans.
It's got a limits of disturbance, I see that.
Yeah, well, limits of disturbance by code requires that tree-safe fence, and then also required by code is 2 rows of type C silt fence.
Okay,
And
so-
that's what you're seeing is 2 rows
Yes.
right there.
That's
So is there any need for us to make that any clearer since it's on page 8 of 12?
Need to make it clear that if you reference in compliance with this, then the.
Should be sufficient.
Compliance would be required.
Okay. Any other questions? At this point, I'll note that the public hearing is closed, and I'll open the floor for a motion in a second.
Okay.
Walt?
I'll make a motion for approval of V16-005. This is to allow a structure to encroach into the 25-foot impervious setback, 75-foot of the impervious setback, to allow an accessory structure to encroach in the 75-foot impervious setback, section 20-426.1.2. And the third one is to allow an accessory structure to encroach into the 25-foot side yard setback, section 64.416.A.I. And my conditions are that the barn shall not exceed the footprint of the existing barn. And number 2, that it shall be, the encroachment shall mimic the plan as shown on page 8 of the variance package. The plan is depicted on page 8 of the variance package.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. I'll open it for discussion. My only discussion point would be what were your thoughts in not including this recommended condition on the, going through the city architect?
The staff said that that's something that the architect's going to do anyway, so why put that as an additional condition? If that's something that's got to be done, then
Required by process, is that right?
that's right. That's what I heard, so I don't understand why, but anyway, if that's what it is, especially on a building that you can't even see from the street, nor neighbors complaining about it, so that's why, again, I'm not real keen. I have a feeling these people are very intelligent. They know what they want. I'm feeling that they should be able to determine what they want and get it done as long as it's not purple and have any markings on top of the roof that looks like a football field from the sky or something. But I mean, I think they've got good taste. They'll do a good job.
Any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second for petition, to approve petition number V16-005, which is a three-part variance to allow a structure to encroach in the 75-foot impervious setback, to allow an accessory structure to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback, to allow an accessory structure to encroach into the 25-foot side yard setback, with the following two conditions: that the new barn shall not exceed the footprint of the existing structure, and this shall be done.
Existing barn. I changed
The
it to
existing barn, thank you. And per the proposed site plan, page 8 of 12 in the packet. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Good luck with your project.
Good luck. Thank you for becoming a resident and making an improvement to the property.
We'll now move on to application or petition number V16-007, 460 Champions View Drive. I'd ask for staff to please present this application.
Yes, sir. Petition V16-007. The site, 460 Champions View Drive, is a 1.06-acre single-family lot in the Champions View subdivision. It is zoned AG1 and is located in the rural Milton overlay. The owners, Donald and Mary Snow, propose to build a 356-square-foot single-car garage on the left side of their house. The proposed garage will encroach into the side setback by 10 feet. It will be finished in stucco, and the roof line and other architectural features will match the existing house. Section 64416J1 states that the side setback for AG1 properties is 25 feet. No structures are to be constructed in this area. Since the Snow's garage will be 15 feet from the side property line, a variance is required. On May 3rd, 2016, the DRB offered the following comments. They had no comments. On May 6th, at the staff focus meeting, there were no comments. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. Due to the arrangement of lots within the subdivision and the curve of Champions View Drive, our northern property line, the area of encroachment, is the back property line of our adjoining neighbors. Therefore, there is considerable green space between our lot and our neighbors' houses. This green space is generally in a natural state and provides a beneficial buffer. Therefore, we believe that the spirit of the ordinance has been maintained. We have considered other locations within our lot. Our house generally faces west. The proposed accessory structure is on the northern side of the house. However, other locations are infeasible or present substantial hardships. To move the garage closer to the house, the garage footprint would come closer or be in the existing septic field. Locating on the far eastern side would require a substantial driveway, which would likely impact the existing septic system, along with substantial grading and a greatly extended driveway. In addition to slope problems, there is a second septic system on the southern side of the house. Our home sits on a hill, which comprises approximately 50% of the front yard, effectively making this area unusable for building. Using any of the remaining 50% would very likely bring the garage within the 25-foot buffer at the front of the lot, or the 25-foot stream buffer. Additionally, the western side has a number of mature trees which would have to be removed for construction in this area. There is no known detriment to the public good or surrounding properties from the encroachment of our accessory structure. The privacy of our neighbors will be enhanced. The HOA requires that the garage be located 50 feet from the front door walk. Within this setback, this garage is barely visible from Champions View Drive. There is no known impact to the public safety, health, and welfare. Granting of the variance will provide substantial justice. The staff response. As stated in the applicant's response, there will be minimal impact on the adjoining property. The distance between the garage and house will not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. Topography, vegetation, and the septic system create extraordinary conditions which preclude the placement of the garage elsewhere on the property. The public good will not be harmed by this variance. The new structure will be constructed to blend in with the existing one. The public safety, health, and welfare are secured, and substantial justice will be done. Should the board choose to approve this application, staff recommends the following conditions. The proposed garage shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Milton architect prior to the building permit approval. And staff recommends approval with conditions of this request.
Are there any questions for staff? Yes, Bob?
The plan that I showed doesn't exactly show the side yard setback. I just want to make sure
It's very light. See right here?
that it's a 25-foot, is it not?
Yes.
And then the letter that that's received from the client says that they're only asking for an encroachment of 3.8 feet.
It's a different property. That letter's for a different property.
Oh,
That's not for this file. Was there another letter for this file, Angela?
I have not cut and pasted that.
well, good job.
1 minute.
5380 Little Stone Way. Oh my gosh, that's 2015.
More than one copy.
Any other questions for staff? Or-
So again, the question is that a 25-foot buffer?
It's 25-foot side setback.
Okay.
And the encroachment that they're requesting is 10 feet.
Say 10 feet, I guess I'm not.
Well, I'm basing it off of what staff's comments from their write-up, as well as this drawing here on page 8 of 9. It says new garage set 15-foot off property line.
Okay,
Yeah, the 25 feet is labeled, it just may be a little hard to see on that one.
It's very light,
okay.
yes.
So again, it's a 10-foot encroachment into the side yard setback is what we're really that's what they're asking for.
It's the same thing.
Any?
You guys keep one?
She'll give us two.
This is the 25-foot side.
We're good.
Yeah.
I know you're good. The question is, look here, turn it around, because that's the building. That's the street.
So where's letters and everything sent out to neighbors? Any feedback from anybody
Letters,
else?
ad in the paper, and the sign. And I believe I got a letter from, I got a letter from one of the neighbors, and they had no objection.
were they speaking in favor or just not to object?
They supported the
Okay. Any other questions for staff? I'd ask the applicant to please come forward, and I'll remind you have 10 minutes to present, as well as leaving that allotted time for public comment.
Thank you. Well, I've been blessed with a lovely house and a lovely neighborhood, but maybe too much stuff. And many of my neighbors have 3-car garages, but our house does not.
Can I just ask you real quick, have you filled out a public comment card? You're good, thank you.
Do I
just
didn't
hand
know
that
who
to-
to give it to.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
What was your name, sir?
Donald Snow. Most of the time, well, I always go by my middle name. It's always confusing. Anyway, we like the garage for additional storage. And we think it's a good investment. We think the house will appreciate, and this will add to its appreciation. And to the extent that I could reduce the 10-foot encroachment to a smaller number, I would. I just don't think until they get out there and really see where the septic field is, this is what the landscape architect thought was appropriate, and if I could make it smaller, I would. There is the staff indicated, there's really no place else on the lot that is buildable. Being on a hill's nice, sort of. Being at the top of the hill is even better than being in the middle. You don't get all the runoff from everybody. But I'd be glad to respond to any questions. This is it's supposed to match the house exactly. Same stucco, same roof line, same shingles, and look like it's always been there.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Have you made application to the homeowners association for approval of this building?
Yes, I have.
And what has been the outcome of that?
They approved it.
And did it show the architectural qualities of the building as well as the materials used and everything else? Is that what?
Actually, it was not so much in a set of plans, but more description that it would match the house, which is, as I say, stucco and the same roof line. There are some lights we have in the front, and there'll be some lights beside it that match. It was really hard to get this organized. All the architects that might be good at this are doing big projects, and it took a while to get there. And you hate spending money for it until you kind of think you're there. You do have a letter from one neighbor, or an email letter, indicating no objection. There's a large hedge between his house, 10 to 15 feet high hedge between our houses. This will virtually be not seen by anybody but us. And we want to look nice. Right now, when you drive in to our, to the house, or when some visitor might come, what you see is a potting bench and a whole bunch of containers and topsoil and all that kind of stuff that we'd like to clean up and put in a better place.
Mr. Snow, on the actual encroachment into the side yard setback, if we limited it to 10 foot, are we setting you up for a potential failure because you don't know where that septic field is, that you may need to have a certain amount of leeway to potentially move it further?
That is a potential, but I don't think it's a very big one. I mean, there is some room there. We do know where the septic tank is. We don't know exactly where the field is, and I feel pretty comfortable that there is room there. Well, if you limit it to 10 and we found a problem, I guess we'd come back. Not that I want to do that, but it's hard to start spending the money on one end till you know the other end.
Sure.
And before we go too much further, you've only used up a few minutes of your time, so I just wanted that to be noted for the record. This doesn't count towards your time. what you heard in the last application and what we often will do is we'll reference your proposed site plan. And what Mr. Recook is identifying is you have it labeled here that you're going to have a 15-foot off the side property line, which if we approve it as such according to the site plan, you're going to be limited to that. And without having a more extensive investment, as you indicated, you don't know for certain. I understand how Fulton County manages their site plan drawings, and they're typically chicken scratch.
Yes,
So,
sir, it was.
Yes.
I wished it were better, but, well, we had some septic work done. We bought the house 2 years ago, and we've had it emptied. And based on where they went and what they drew out, I think we're pretty far from it.
Can I ask you, on the side that you're looking to build this garage, what sort of separation is there between your structure and the house adjacent to you?
There are two houses behind, well, as you face the garage to the left,
Yes.
there would be maybe 100 feet
Of separation
of separation
from structure to structure.
from structure to structure, and certainly a lot of bushes and a lot of trees.
So it's heavily vegetated and naturally screened.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So can you actually see any structure? If you're looking at where that garage is going to be placed?
I
can
can see, I can see the roof of one.
The roof of one house.
Right, but, they have a screen porch in the back, and I've been there many times, but you can't see it. And, we have a mutual agreement on maintenance of the hedge. We had it trimmed 2 years ago, and they paid half of it, and we paid half of it. Our goal is to keep it as strong and healthy a hedge as possible. I guess everybody kind of wants privacy in their backyard, and I don't want to interfere with theirs, and I don't want them to interfere with ours.
Okay. Are there further questions for the applicant?
On the plan that you submitted, it doesn't look like you're going to have any clearing that's necessary, because it looks like the area behind where this is going looks like it's already been cleared.
Yes, sir. It's
So-
just part of the backyard, and it'll take up part of the existing, there's some pavement, cemented there, driveway and walkway, and that'll be taken up and a little bit, but there are no trees, there's just nothing there.
Okay.
So nothing will change in that buffer that you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Right.
No,
Okay.
buffer, we planted some bushes 2 years ago, and they continue to grow, and we expect them to grow further.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, sir, you can have a seat, and we'll open it for
Okay.
public comment, or actually for questions to staff first. My bad. We will open it for public comment. Is there any public comment? Please state your name and address.
Stephen Attard, 440 Champions View Drive.
Okay.
I not directly next door, but I live. According to if you follow the curve, my property line follows his backyard.
Okay.
I'm not that I'm. Obviously I can't stop the project or completely against it. I just kind of want to understand it, and I want to be here trying to find out and get a little more clearing about it. I guess my big concern is, like what you stated, Fulton County is Fulton County, and I'm concerned that the 10 feet may not be enough, and I'm not crazy about the 10 feet, but I want to make sure that it definitely stays within that 10 feet. I don't want to start the project and then come out or have to encroach anymore. Because I can see Mr. Snow's home from my backyard, and part of the reason why we purchased that home was for the privacy. And I'd like to keep it as minimal as possible. But I am concerned, in the original statement that this lady read here, she mentioned that there were some trees that were going to come down. Could we review that, or is that incorrect?
I'm reading it now. No structures are to be constructed. I don't see anything in the background that indicates
Yeah.
any
Western side.
disturbance.
Okay. Maybe I
Is it
misheard
further
that.
on in there?
Additionally, the western side has a number of mature trees which would have to be removed for construction in this area. Is that right?
Oh, that's at another location.
Oh, if
Well,
yeah,
that's
we
at
moved it to
another
another
lo-
location, there would be disturbance. In the proposed location, there's not disturbance.
There's not, okay.
And that's why I asked that question.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay. And then, I'm a little concerned, do we have an approval from the homeowners association?
That's what he's telling us.
Okay, so you have, it's in the package, okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, sir, where do you live in relationship to the garage?
I live directly behind it. My home, by the back of my deck would be looking directly at the garage.
And you're concerned about that, because it's, that's gonna be, how far is your home from that garage then?
I mean, it's good 100 feet or so.
But you're concerned about
The
10
visual
feet?
aspect of it, that's what I'm concerned about.
If you look, I think I can help on page
I'm
2.
at 440 Champions.
Yeah, so are you the fifth house in on the left,
That right there.
Yeah.
And the garage is gonna.
just before the bend?
Garage is where the red dot is.
Oh, this is the house right here.
Yeah, that's the house, but I think his house is right here.
So is there a tree line between you and?
There is currently it's the home I purchased. I've actually lived there literally a year to the date last Saturday, and the home is
Yeah, that's,
it was very let go,
so,
and the vegetation was just overrun. I've been working at it for about a year now, and I've gotten the trees cut back where they're maintained and they're pretty much taken care of. But in that area, that between Mr. Snow's home and my home, I'm kind of working my way back through that to kind of clear out the vines and the kudzu and all that. So I just want to make sure that we don't encroach any more than what is absolutely necessary.
Okay.
But I thought the garage was going to the side,
If
not
it-
to the back.
Yes, except
It is,
this is
but
around the
It's
corner.
it's a curve. It's a little unique It's a unique
Oh, okay.
situation.
see, his house is here, and that house sits right back here. If you look at this,
So his house would be
Here's
over
the new
here.
garage.
yeah, his house is sitting like right here.
Show me where it's supposed to go
His,
now.
his house is right here. That's this,
Which is where.
which is, no, so his house is sitting,
Here's the new
yeah,
garage.
his house is sitting up here. But again, it's still, that's where I showed you the aerial photo,
Okay.
so.
Well, I was
See
gonna
that
ask you a
house?
question, so
Sure.
I know you were
And I
concerned
don't
about
know
the
if we can
HOA,
get
so
it, look at
do you
it.
know, were you aware
But
about this being proposed at the HOA meeting, or?
I'm aware that the HOA is not exactly an organized HOA. That's what I'm aware of, and they're not the most active HOA, and they're pretty much falling apart. So I do have some concerns there.
Yeah.
So sir, are you saying you're against the project, or you're just here to learn more about the project?
First of all, I want to learn more about the project, which I think I have.
Okay.
Secondly, I want to make sure that I'm not crazy about the encroachment. I'm not going to fight it, but I definitely want to make sure it doesn't go beyond 10 feet. I will not be happy about that. And I am concerned of, do we really need I guess my overall question is, do we really need the encroachment? There is space between the homes, and does the septic field essentially really come into play?
Have you seen the proposed site plan?
I have, yes.
Okay, and you've also seen the proposed rendering?
Yeah, I have seen
Okay.
that too, yes.
Because if you were to move the garage closer to the house,
Okay,
it would make it fairly unusable as a garage.
okay,
Um,
okay.
So it's not, I think it's as conservatively spaced as you could expect,
Okay.
in my judgment. And I'd be happy to show you what we have to see if you, in larger view, if you'd like.
and aerial, so.
No, I'm just here to learn, like I said.
Okay.
I want to make sure, at the very least, it stays within that encroachment.
I understand that point very
Yeah.
clearly. Okay, well, we're about at the limit of the 10-minute overall. If you
No
have
problem.
anything final to add, we're happy to hear it.
No, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right, hearing none and seeing none, I'd ask if there's, applicant would like to have a rebuttal or closing comment?
I guess I have two comments. First is a correction that the encroachment is not 15 feet, it's only 10 feet.
Correct.
Second, this is the first time we met.
Okay.
And, you know, he's got a great-looking house in the front. I've never seen the back. If I'd known you were if he's interested, I've been glad to everybody, well, they're tired of me telling them about it. Thank you, and if there's anything else I need to say, I'll be glad to answer, but I think we help everyone's privacy by putting it there.
Okay. All right, are there any final questions for the applicant or staff? None? All right, I'll make note that the public hearing is closed, and I'll open the floor for a motion and a second. Yes,
I make
Jim.
a motion to approve petition number V16-007 to allow an accessory structure to encroach into the 25-foot side setback with the following condition. That the proposed garage shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Milton architect prior to building permit approval. And referencing drawing, is there a drawing number on here?
Just say page.
Page 8 of 9, in compliance with, consistent with the rendering shown on page 8 of 9 of our packet.
And I believe that's dated March 7th, 2016.
March 7th, 2016
Okay.
is correct.
I'll second the motion for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval to allow an accessory structure to encroach into the 25-foot setback with two conditions. The proposed garage shall be reviewed by and approved by the City of Milton architect prior to building permit approval and is consistent with the proposed site plan, page 8 of 9, by DVS Design Group dated March 7th. Any discussion?
I do. Again, I know our city architect is so busy. I just hate to have him look at these plans. And my response is that, you know, if it's been something that the HOA has looked at and approved, I'd rather they be the one who reviews and approves it and keep our architect doing things that he needs to be doing. And so I'd rather not see that condition. But on another issue, I'd like to see an additional condition, which would be no additional clearing of trees or shrubs within the remaining 15-foot side yard setback. And I think what that does is that would perhaps
Help maintain a screen.
So no clearing of, please?
no additional clearing of trees or shrubs within the remaining 15-foot side yard setback.
All right, I'll need a motion for that.
Well, let's continue discussion first real quick.
Right,
Okay,
right.
please.
So, I know the point about the whole septic line, so then how do we make sure that,
Sure.
you know,
If he has to come back, he has to come back. That's the issue that I think he understood.
so would it be better to go ahead and make sure he's got a firm plan?
Right. So you're
before-
saying instead of 15, make it 13? Just to give him 2 feet on the clearing issue, or?
No, I'm just saying in general, you know, would it be better to go ahead and have a firm plan in place first to make sure that there's no issues with the septic line, for instance?
I think they'll
And
work it
then-
out. I mean, the septic field that he's talking about, you can physically move that field
It's just
if need
it's just a
be.
bend.
It's a dome type product that they can dig up and relocate if need be. I think again, based on his neighbor, he doesn't want it any closer than what it has to be. So let them work it out. If it's got to be moved, the septic field has to be moved, then so be it. But if he wants to come back and get further approval, if something doesn't work out, then he's more than welcome to do it.
And then for them to potentially have to move the septic line, then where would the city be involved with that?
It wouldn't. It's up to the health department, but even then, the health department probably would do nothing minimal more than just reviewing the plan and saying, okay, just do it. And for that matter, I know other people have, they say, okay, my septic field, I don't even think there's a re-inspection if your septic field has some kind of damage in it that the county has to go back and re-inspect. If you have to put a whole new one in, they do, but I'm not sure about just fixing a minor little section. But again, I'm not a health department expert. That's something they'll have to figure out with the staff, so.
Well, let me
But,
ask, so can I, staff, can we
Yeah.
open that?
Sure, it's still
Is there
open.
anything else with that, if they had to move the septic line, for instance? Is there anything from the city standpoint that they would have to get approved, or?
Well, the approval would come from Fulton County Environmental Health, it would come from us. And
Right.
we'd have to show, the new septic lines and tank and all that on, the site plan before we could approve a building permit for the garage. And, we would prefer that no new clearing take place in that process, so.
So hypothetically, if we were to approve it as is right now, and then they go back and now they've got to move the septic tank, then what would potentially happen at that point? The process.
Honestly, I would think I would tweak the location of the garage before I move the septic tank, but that's me. But he just have to go through the process. Either way, he'd have to go through the process. Either get permission from Fulton County to move the septic tank, or come back before you all do the variance.
Would that be something that could be handled through an administrative variance?
No, administrative limits you to just a few feet. So I can't add feet on top of the 10.
Right, I just want to make clear.
Okay. And then the other point was, I know what you had brought up about the HOA, and again,
Yeah.
to the gentleman's point, I don't know if there's a fully functioning HOA. We don't know. We haven't received any communication from the HOA.
Yeah, I
so,
understand. I mean,
You know.
but
I mean, I don't ask for or look for correspondence from the HOA once the city doesn't enforce any of their rules, so
Mhm.
it's really not an issue as far as we're concerned.
But
I have
you said
similar
he did submit a package to you, so you do have a letter
Looked
there?
through there, I didn't see it. It might have come through as an email, but it's not in the packet, the information.
Okay.
Would that maybe have gone through the DRB?
It might have come through as an email.
Okay. Yeah, I have similar concerns.
Well, I mean,
with it being loosely structured.
Yeah, and making that, to Walt's point about,
Sure.
making that a part of the condition or whatever HOA versus like city approval. I don't know if we even need to address the HOA because we don't know one way or the other.
Right, right. I understand your concern. I just feel like sometimes our city architect gets involved with too many things on this, because normally he would never review a house unless it's in an overlay district, or unless it's some kind of other thing that normally in zonings and variances, he shouldn't be getting involved. And I don't understand why we need to keep on interjecting him into the equation. I have a feeling all these people have good taste. The house he lives in is not cheap. If it's something that I would think he's gonna resell, it's gonna be nice. And that's where I just have problems, because now we've got the architect's taste involved, where if he doesn't like the homeowner's taste, who's gonna win? And I don't want it to be somebody against the city. I just say, I just have to believe the HOA has got something that they do, but,
We closed, sorry.
so, anyway, that's the reason. It's not a big issue. I mean, if it stays the way it is, it's not a big problem for me, but it's, to me, just more of I just keep on seeing that thing creep in on every condition, every case we have, it's there. And, I just don't understand it, especially
All right.
in houses and subdivisions.
Well, in this case, I think having heard from a concerned citizen, that
understand.
may
I
provide the
understand.
proper checks and balances
Mhm.
for some
I
of the
understand.
concerns he raised.
That's like I said, I wouldn't object.
All right, so is there further discussion? Do we want to go back and revisit a proposed amendment? And if so, what would that proposed amendment be?
Well, the one I'd like to get added is no additional clearing of trees or shrubs within the remaining 15-foot of the side yard setback.
So
Adjoin.
we need to make a motion to amend.
Right, but before you actually make that
Right,
motion,
Counselor? Yeah.
can we be more specific? Is this the entire 15-foot along the, I think would be the western property line?
Okay.
Double check, Councilman, I don't think we're not reducing the side setback. We are allowing this specific encroachment into the side setback.
Right. So, let me read it again, what I've got, and if I need to change it. No additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct the garage within the remaining 15-foot of the side yard setback. Does that make it a little bit clearer, so it defines an area? Is that?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So no additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct a garage within the remaining 15-foot side yard setback. That's the proposed amendment.
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Let me ask, just for clarification, when you're saying within the remaining 15, are you talking about between the structure and the property line?
Side property line.
Correct. New
Okay.
structure in the property line, so within the remaining 15-foot of the
Remaining
side yard
setback.
setback. In other words, a portion in which the building is not within. That's what I'm.
Right, but like, you limit to the front of the building, front of the new garage, back of the new garage, perpendicular to the property line, that's where there'll be no more clearing.
That's correct. So it's that area beside the garage.
Would you prefer that was stated differently?
I think just if something to that effect was included in the condition, make it clear that it's not the entire length of the.
Right.
I mean, I hear it, and it's.
Okay,
it's
let me work on it one more
someone
time.
5 years from now, reading it, and may not read remaining necessarily that way.
So maybe I should ask our attorney over there, because he's the word master. So,
It seemed like there was something, I don't remember the exact language, but just some very simple additional
Oh,
words would.
How about no additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct a garage in the area adjacent to the structure and the side property line?
Sure.
Adjacent to.
the remaining. I think it's
Is
essentially.
your intent all the way down, right?
No, that's
No,
what,
you're not-
so it's
that's
the
not your
area
intent.
adjacent to the structure and the side property line.
Because technically, he could, anybody could clear their property. He'd come back and say, well, I'm gonna put a badminton net, and I need the court for the badminton net. It's not a structure, but it's something he could come in and do.
Okay, so let me restate this so we can decide if this is appropriate for seconding. The motion is for, to make an amendment for no additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct the garage in the area adjacent to the garage and the side property line.
Side yard setback.
Side property line.
Adjacent to it,
Okay.
So it's the area adjacent to the garage and the side property line, that whole area.
Sure.
Is that clear enough, council?
I believe.
Okay, do we have a second?
Repeat it again?
No additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct the garage in the area adjacent to the garage and the side property line.
I'll second the motion.
You made the motion.
No, you just did.
No, I didn't.
Mine never got seconded, so,
I know, I'm just restating it.
so,
What has been moved, we have, we need a second.
Yes.
yeah, so I just second whatever you just said.
Second.
All right, now we have a motion from Walt, a second from Samit on this amendment. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote on this amendment only, to amend to no additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct the garage in the area adjacent to the garage and the side property line. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That amendment motion passed unanimously. We still have matter of the application petition V616-007 to address. Do I hear a motion and a second?
There is a motion on the floor. It's as amended now,
Oh,
with now 3 conditions.
thank you. Now I got to go back.
Is there any other discussion?
Is there any other discussion before we vote on the amended motion that has been seconded? Would you like me to restate with the 3 conditions? Okay.
No.
Is there any discussion?
No.
All right. We have a motion for an amended. We have an amended motion to approve V16-007 with 3 conditions. This is to allow an accessory structure to encroach into the 25-foot side setback. First condition, consistent to the proposed site plan, page 8 of 9, by DVS Design Group, dated March 7th. Second condition, the proposed garage shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Milton architect prior to building permit approval. And the third condition, as amended, no additional clearing of trees or shrubs to construct the garage in the area adjacent to the garage and the side property line. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passed unanimous. Good luck with your project.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate the effort and time that should go into this.
Thanks.
Thank you. Enjoy your new garage.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item, item 6, consideration of appeals. No consideration of appeals. Item number 7, old business. Item number 8, new business. Any items for discussion? Item number 9, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous.
Hey, let's